What's going on, family? Hopefully, you're doing absolutely wonderful. Welcome into this live stream. I just wanted to live stream, have some fun this afternoon. If you are rewatching this, awesome. If you are here live, cool. Let me know down below in the chat. We'll get started here in just a few moments. If you don't know what this is, FOMC, I think it would be cool to have this on my channel simply because a lot of folks have never seen what an FOMC meeting is, how the candles in the market reacts to Fed Powell and his decision, whether good, bad, indifferent, whether he's cutting rates, pausing rates, things of that nature. So we'll have some fun here. Chat. I'll talk through the market and what it's doing. I'm committing right now to just waiting. So if you don't see me take a trade, I will formulate trade ideas and then show you how that reaction would happen if I do take a trade. And that's because I think a lot better opportunities may come following him speaking and potentially into tomorrow, which will be Thursday and Friday, which is May 8th, 2025 and May 9th, 2025. All right. So let's jump into our stream setup here. And yeah, let's have some fun here. Let's have some fun. All right. So the first thing that I typically do, okay, for those that are learning as I'm walking through this is, if you can see at the top of my screen here, it is 10:50 PST, okay, 1:50 EST, Eastern Standard Time. So in 10 minutes, the FOMC committee will release their decision, whether it's pausing, cutting, hiking, whatever it may be at the time of the FOMC meeting. At this particular time, I personally believe, based on data research, that they will pause rates again. Okay. So as such, what you'll typically see is you'll see consolidation or chop, meaning just in a channel. Do you see here at the dark black area? Let me blow it up for everyone so they can see on a bigger time scale. Okay. I've got SPY here. Let me turn on after hours. Okay. Let me turn off some of these. Okay, so you see that SPY's kind of in this channel, okay, for the last 2 days, from 557 roughly to 564, just chopping around in this channel, okay? The dark black area, for those that are new that may be rewatching this in the future or at the time of the recording, the dark black area is when the New York session market is open, meaning our stock market in the United States. All right. So that is when the market is open. The light gray area is when the market is closed after hours. So this was yesterday. Okay. Tuesday, May 6th. This is today, where the market is currently at the time of us on this live stream. So that is what you typically expect leading up to an FOMC meeting. So if you're learning how to trade or wanting to get into this and you're not really privy, you just think every day is the same, you have to pay attention to what data, like big data reports or economic reports, are important that will shift the market. This is one of them, one of the biggest. FOMC, where in about 8 minutes, okay, you will see a candle that potentially will go right up to there or right down to there and right back and going back and forth. Okay. It'll be volatility back and forth. All right. You're already starting to see it move leading up to the decision. Okay. You see this candle, how it's speeding up a little bit. Okay. So you typically don't want to get involved, right? I've gotten involved pre-FOMC. Sometimes it presents a trade opportunity, but what I personally think is going to trap anyone that's shorting this. Okay. Trap shorting simply means if you try to take puts right now, okay, leading up into the meeting, I think it's going to trap, big push down, and then just flip and come right back up to retest those highs. Okay. So that is why you want to trade off of or consider bigger levels. Or when I say wait for confirmation, we want to see what a direction is. Okay. So based off of what their decision is going to go straight to a level that it wants to go in these ranges. So it can go all the way down to 556, 557, and then shift all the way back up to 563, right? So that is what you'll typically happen on SPY or the market. If I look here, you can see on a tighter time frame what's happening, and we'll talk about Google a little bit too. So let me know down in the chat. I'll check the chat periodically here for anyone. Dr. B sniping the midnight gold. Congrats, Lloyd. Congrats, man. Congrats. So that is what I'm typically going to do right now, is just kind of wait and let this settle in. As much as I want to, get involved, I love fast movement. I love, shorting the market personally. If you know, you know, but right here in this, it could easily whiplash back up. So we'll see. All right. While this is waiting for the release, we see Google that took a nosedive today. Okay. Took a nosedive, and it was simply because of Apple news. Okay. But go to Apple and go to the news section. All right. You see that why Google is getting hammered today. Alphabet shares tumble amid potential AI search shift. Okay. So Alphabet falls after Apple says it's exploring adding AI to its browser. Right. So in my opinion, I don't see why that would be, quote unquote, a long-term negative thing for Google. I understand Google is the major search engine, but if Apple is trying to overtake and, hey, I want to put AI into a search engine, then does that mean that Google is going out? No. So I think this is a little bit drastic here, which is why I was telling my community inside Leverage University that this was a great short. We were looking at this, right? If you remember, right, we were looking at this kind of break of structure, and it just happened off that news, right? I was watching Google all day today. I was like, man, I really want to take this off of this, but FOMC, it could pop up to 170 again. And that's just the risk to reward that you have to consider, right? No one could, unless you got insider information, no one could have predicted that this was going to go this far right now. And there was some gaps below that needed to be filled, and they were filled. Both of the gaps, okay? This gap right here, right there. And then there was a small one down here that got filled. So both of those gaps. So when I say, and I'm teaching these, for those futures traders out there, fair value gaps, or I just personally call them gaps in the stocks, right? These will get filled. You just don't know when, where the volume is going to pick up. So I really badly want the NVIDIA. I badly want that, but I need to see a break of structure first, personally. I badly want this AMD to go back down to, the low 80s, right? And those are the risks you have to take. This Amazon, I really wanted Amazon to pop a little bit higher, fill a couple of these gaps up to the high, give me a little bit better signal here, but just can't get involved in the middle of this because risk to reward is just not there. So it kind of sucks. I wanted Google bad. Google's kind of my sleeper as far as making a lot of money off of Google options. I think it's slept on from a lot of folks, but we'll watch it. We'll see. All right. We'll see. We got 4 minutes left. 4 minutes left. Give me a one down in the chat. Give me a one down in the chat if you're here. Awesome. If you're enjoying this, if you like me doing these, cool. Let me know where you're tuning in from. All right. If you're rewatching, hopefully you enjoy these just so you can get an idea. I know it's hard to watch, people, give reviews and the candles aren't moving. So make sure you're watching some of these live trading sessions or, reviews while the market's moving so you can see what I'm talking about. We mark our levels on NVIDIA. You can see it's not able to get above 116 right now. As much as people want NVIDIA to go to 120, right? It could pull all the way back down to the 100s and 105s before. So we'll see. We shall see. So I'm watching on this scale here. I want to see where the market kind of finds maybe a bottom in 3 minutes. 3 minutes, 3 minutes and counting, 3 minutes and counting. If there's any questions anyone has, please tune in. I'm not going to make this whole live an hour and a half long per se. I just want to see the first initial reaction. I'll stay on here for, maybe Powell stepping on, which is at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, just so everyone can have a view of how this FOMC meeting day goes. All right. Let's check on Disney. Had earnings today, this morning. It popped, kind of gave that signal inside of my community. So if some of y'all got some starters, awesome on Disney, make sure you check that Swing Trades channel out in the Discord. Disney, good risk to reward. All right, I'd love it to pop one more time, but it could just go right now depending on the reaction. Maybe bounce it VWAP, give us one more double top potentially. A little bit higher. I think that's one that you may like, Lloyd. Fairly inexpensive contracts, can take it out a little bit further, get it more closer into the money. I mean, just those gaps below just look so enticing. It just looks like it just wants to gravitate right towards it. My bottom end of the range, if we do have some serious volatility with this reaction in 2 minutes, remember SPY, I'm looking for 550 as a potential for it to go right down into or give us a little pop and then go back down into. All right. Remember, for anyone that's jumping on later or rewatching, I'm not really looking to take a trade. Personally, I think I've been really, really disciplined this week as far as the trades I've taken. I missed my AMD this morning. I was looking for that sell. Those contracts went $100 per contract. I mentioned it on the Stock Sermon Sundays in my video from yesterday and just missed that, right? I was looking for that pop, get the 100 puts and take them down to 98, and they were about $100, $150 per contract. So $150 went to about $350 or so. So once I missed that trade, I was like, I'm just going to chill. It's the beginning of a month. So we could have a lot of value once this is out of the way. Now, I'm not saying I don't take trades during FOMC, but I'm just saying that sometimes it's you try to force something and the next day presents a better opportunity once everything settles in. All right, here we go. Let's look at this volatility. Watch how the candles pick up steam. Okay, I've got NVIDIA down to my bottom left, SPY top, QQQ, middle, IWM, top right. Remember my sentiment? I personally thought that we were going to maybe fall a little bit, right? And then pop back up to the highs and squeeze to give us that retest at the highs. So if we reclaim that 560 and get back above that VWAP right there, I do believe we can take out that 560, 132 and then take off back to about 563. It's holding right now. So like I was saying earlier, trapping shorts, trapping anyone that wants to just think it's going to fall out of the sky right here. And it could. But getting involved right here, like I said, is dangerous, trying to assume. Okay, getting some top wick action off of VWAP. As I'm talking through this, if you're rewatching it at a later date, everything should be the same. So if you want to join Leverage University, or if you want to get a little bit more consulting or, one-on-one time or whatever, join our boot camps. You're more than welcome to. I do teach inside of our community. So if you're not understanding the lingo, like what is VWAP, what is the 9 EMA, right? Also let me know down below if y'all would like, instead of a 3-day boot camp, I was thinking about just making a beginner's course, right? I've made all types of courses in my lifetime of entrepreneurship, which is roughly about 8 years, life coaching courses. And I've realized that courses are only good if you're educating and teaching yourself from the beginner stance. Like if it's like a short 5-6, module course that someone could just purchase and watch the videos and just have a blueprint. I've thought about just doing that personally, because there's so many nuances when it comes to trading that I think just understanding the lingo is so important. So you understand what that means. When I say, hey, it's rejecting VWAP, does someone know what that means? If you don't, and you're trying to learn how to trade, very important. Right? When I say support, what am I thinking? I'm thinking upside, floor, bounce, going up, calls in options, buys in futures. Okay. If I say price action or PA, that means essentially how the candles are moving at my levels. Right now, we're kind of stagnant, but I see that we're holding support, right? So buyers, I can tell that are still present. but it's not really strength pushing up through that level. Okay, so still top wicks coming in. Top wicks tell us that sellers are stepping in. So just kind of stuck in this range right here, right? And I'm looking at, I like to rotate between 5 and 15 minute on my day trading time frames. So 5 and 15 minute on my day trading time frames. I'm looking at my bottom left here, and I'm seeing NVIDIA is still struggling. You see it's on this trend line here, just trying to hold that thing up. If that candle flips and gets underneath 112, it's going to start falling, and we could see that 110 retest again. I don't think anything's going to happen until Powell comes on, which is in 20 minutes or so. Let's see what the reaction was. Let's look at how typically, I mean, sometimes I go into the Fed, sometimes I just go into Twitter, a very easy way to just type in FOMC. Fed keeps rates unchanged as expected. Now eyes on Powell. Okay. So like we said earlier, that was expected that FOMC was going to pause rates again. Okay. That is not what the consumer really wants, right? The consumer and the market really wants, and Trump also wants Fed Powell to cut rates, right? So I keep reiterating that why would he cut rates if the data is not presenting a reasoning to? Jobs are coming back in, tariffs are uncertain, so he's just going to keep it the same, right? Now, the key is, what is he going to say at his press conference? So if you're taking notes on how to trade or how to read the FOMC data, first comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern. What happens? Is it cut? Is it rate? Is it hikes? Or is it a pause? Right? Then he comes on at 2:30, steps up on stage, and then starts talking for about 30 minutes. Okay. And while he's talking, the market is starting to settle in to what they feel about this reaction. So if he says, yeah, we don't like it, we may not have a rate cut into the fall, we don't know, right? We just need to get more data, right? I'm not stepping down, stuff like that, which is very hawkish or bearish, then we'll see a continuation downwards. If he starts saying some positive things like, hey, we like what we're seeing, we may see some rate cuts in the summer, in about a month or so at our next meeting, we'll reevaluate, then we could bounce and go higher. So it's very tough to trade, right? But what I like to do is I always reiterate the technicals, okay, is because the technicals will show true, right? You trade the levels of the technicals. You see we're weak, okay? Starting to break new lows. Okay, we've now broken 480 on Qs. We break 478, we can start to see 470 potentially. We break 478, we can start seeing 470 if it breaks strongly. I'd love to see a retest first. Just don't want to ever chase anything coming down here. Remember, I'm not personally going to take a trade. I want to kind of see it. This is kind of what I expected. If you do want to trade, I will give some trade ideas. That's up to you. But always got to see a retest first. We're now in support, 478 on Qs, middle of my screen. You see that trend line starting to break on NVIDIA. Any of my Leverage University members, make sure you check out that Swing Trades channel. I do like that Disney that's forming there. Okay, selling coming into Powell. He hasn't even stepped on stage yet. They don't like those those pauses. Okay, getting a little bit of that gap fill coming in. 555 is my pivot point. We could still bounce from here potentially, but it's kind of forming that head and shoulders I was looking at yesterday. Okay, kind of right, sitting at that neckline, 557, 558, coming into that 555 with some volume sells coming in. Check the chat. How are y'all doing? Oops. you have any questions, let me know. Give me a 1 in the chat. Give me a 5 in the chat if you're enjoying this thus far. I know some of y'all want to make some money, but I can give some trade ideas. Just got to let that settle in. Wow. I'd want to see a retest of 558. See how that reacts there at that yellow line. I'd want to see a retest at 480 on Qs. IWM coming into support 195. We want to see a retest back up into 197. Wow. All right, let me get on this bigger screen here. Oh, AMD. Gosh, dang it. I really wanted to top tick that. If we can get some kind of little pop on AMD back up closer to 199, something like that. I really like this for March, May 16th contracts. I'm watching Google down into these supports. Congrats if anyone caught this this sell on the downside. Congrats. I think 550's in sight on SPY. I think 110's in sight on NVIDIA. If we get one green candle pop, maybe into him or something like that, that'd be great. If it just goes, please be mindful of chasing. There's too many traps. But bottom end of the range on NVIDIA, now that this is broke, looking at NVIDIA, if it breaks 112, going to 110, maybe even filling that gap into 108. So that could be a low risk, high reward on the option side. If you're looking at the 110 puts, if you want to go next week, you can look at that as well. I still like that Disney. I don't think Disney's built like that personally. I'd love a little pop back up, but Disney's starting to form a little lower high here. If anyone took that from our Leverage University signal and swing trades, let me know. But it's still a good entry in my opinion for starters. If you've never traded Disney before, the contracts move very, very well. Contracts move very, very well. And as you can see, very quote unquote inexpensive. May have missed my entry on it, but it's still fairly inexpensive. I mean, if that gap fills, I mean, that looks beautiful. Any little green pop on it, I like it. Breaking structure, nice rejection there. Pop, lower high, underneath 103. So also into that kind of like that 4-hour 200 moving average right there. If we can get a little pop back up into it, that'd be great to add more. All right, still selling pressure coming in. Sitting right below that 558, that previous low, that yellow line, if you can see that. Let me know if anyone has any questions, thoughts. This is your time. Anytime I'm on live and I do it publicly, it is for the benefit of the community. I know some of y'all or some people, just want to do their due diligence and want to hear how a live trading session or a talk through or walkthrough goes. And sometimes the best trade is to not take a trade. is to get a read on the market. And sometimes what I do in these situations is I look at trades that look really good for, a couple of weeks out, kind of like that Disney. Let's take a look at Microsoft. What is Microsoft doing? Still not broken out of this consolidation channel here. I need Microsoft to break below 430. It'll start picking up some steam. God, Disney, give me a green candle. It's going to enter right up there on that retest. Come on. Give a bounce at these lows. Just one green candle back up. Still good for starters. That's looking beautiful. You can even go out of the money. That's up to you for anyone. But give it more time if you go further out of the money. If you know, you know. If you're not inside Leverage University or inside of our Discord, and you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm essentially just giving free money on here. Giving free money plays. You're like, I don't know what free money you're talking about. I don't have anything set up. If you literally see money being printed in front of you, that's your calling to understand this skill set. Doesn't have to be from me. Doesn't have to be from, anyone else, but start being curious. If I was watching money being printed in front of me, I'd probably be interested. And like, how in the world is this happening? Like $100 in the next week or so will turn into $300, $400, $500, $600. Who needs an extra $500 in the next 2 weeks? What would that pay for? Give us a pop back into VWAP. Let's see. If you're riding this down on some futures and whatnot, let me know. I'm giving the futures market just a little bit of breath until after FOMC, everything settles in. I want to get some more solid levels and direction. Just as a reminder, we have a potential, I don't know if it's going to go through, but Besant, our U.S. Treasury Secretary, is flying to China this weekend, or he's already there, and they will be making some type of deal, or quote unquote making a deal on Saturday, or on the 8th, which is tomorrow. So I was talking through it and I was like, man, I don't know if it's already priced in or what. I'm just trading the charts. But if they make some type of deal and we come into support and bounce at 550, we could go all the way back and gap up all the way back up to highs. That's my worry about chasing this and thinking it's going to fall. We got to get underneath 550 for the market to really get weak. Underneath 550 on SPY. So starting to fill that gap into 555. Beautiful sell. Me. Disney still looking good for those swings next week. Let me check on AVGO. Beautiful on AVGO. If it breaks that 198. All right, for anyone that's still in that swing trade on the downside, if it gets more aggressive, cool. But you're welcome to trim at any point that you see a little bit of profit or break even. It's got to really break below 195 to get moving. Remember, AVGO is very bullish. So if you're enjoying this live, maybe take a screenshot, tag me if you'd like. Tag me on your stories. While we're taking an interlude, if you want to join Leverage University, there's a 10% off discount code. That just gets you inside of our Discord, right, where I'm teaching those things. And the ones who benefit are the ones who actually put in the effort and the work. I'm trying to lower the load of work for everybody. Do you see how many things I chart, give ideas, trade ideas? And once you understand how the trade ideas work, then you can trade confidently off of those levels. All right. Gold, congrats to anyone who caught that last night. The gold sell, mark that up. All right. Last night, right before it dropped, I said right up into that 318, 320, right? 315 to 320, gaps below. You can look for sells or puts. And our community caught some gold sells in the futures market last night. So I was asked recently, just in general, like I was touching on this, and Ben, if you're here, I was doing an IG live, and nothing's really happening right now. Powell will be stepping on stage in the next 10 minutes or so. So we've broken down lows. We'll see where he sends us from here, but we're still in technical support at 555 to 556 on SPY, top left-hand screen. I was asked, and please put some questions down below if you want me to kind of, answer any while we're waiting. But I was asked by a community member, and I'll keep it non-disclosed or confidential, I should say. Hey, Brian, like, I'm understanding it. I'm kind of getting it. I'm making some money, but I'm maybe not making as much as I want to. Love what you're doing. Love what we're doing in here. Obviously, people are winning, right? But maybe I'm not winning as much as I want to. And my response was that if you are, I'd say, less than a year in, like 6 months into like trading, right? If you're less than a year in of like looking at the charts for a full year, looking at the charts for a full 2 years, 3 years, right? I've looked at these charts for the last 4 or 5 years actively. Okay. So in 2018, 2019, I was trading, but it was kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm on Robinhood. I'm trading back and forth. Then I started getting on the charts in 2019, going into 2020, and I started learning more. Right. So if you're less than 5-6 months in or a year in less, right, give yourself some grace in this type of market, because no matter who you're watching on these public platforms, you will make some money, right? You will have a one good trade and you're like, man, I just made $300, $200. It was a swing trade, whatever, right? And you will make money, but you will take some losses. Right. So that is the name of the game. Is if you're looking at your, back and forth P&L, quote unquote, and you're like, man, I haven't been able to like pull some money out to actually pay a bill or like go out to dinner or see some realized profits. That is okay. It may not be the thing that you want. So if that's not what you want to do, if you're like, I need money now, then you need to start. If you make some money, pull it out into your bank account immediately. Like if you make $300, $400 in a week, pull that profit out and take it to your bank account and pay a bill or take yourself out to dinner or whatever. That's how it's going to be made real. Because growing accounts, like if you take an account from 500 to, I'll give you an example, okay, while we're waiting on Powell. Okay, here's our community, and I'll share a client that shared some profits with me. Many of y'all know Jay. Okay. So Jay was, came in the community and was just not having success trading, on his own or kind of bouncing around, trying to learn it. This was fall of last year. Okay. Fall of last year. This was a pretty big, change of events for him to understand what we were talking about. So you see, we're messaging spring of last year around this time. Okay. So we came in the community, started understanding. And I want you to look at some of these trades that he took. Okay. This was in September on NVIDIA, and look at those profits. This is with not a lot of money. This is with starting with a couple of grand. Okay. Makes $8,000, makes $1,000, makes $5,000. You do the math there. What is that? Roughly 13, 14 grand. And he says, Dr. B, I need to make a decision. Make a decision about what? Take your profits. What are you doing? Where else are you going to get 14 grand? Right? So why I'm saying this is because, right, officially hit his 5-figure trade. So that is possible for anyone and everyone, but long-term sustainability, you could take a $3,000 to $4,000 loss and wipe out all those gains, right? So when you make money in this market trading, specifically a Trump market, what I've been doing, taking my profits to the bank, starting over. I'd rather buy shares. I'd rather, think a little bit more long-term and then scalp, right? Meaning in and out of trades very quickly, make my 20, 30, 50+%. If I have a big trade, 100+%, right? And get out, take my profits to the bank and restart. So if you have a smaller account within options, more specifically, and you're starting with $500 to $1,000 and you make 20% in a week on that, just say $1,000, you make $300. Take $300 out or take $500 out, start over the next week. You're done, right? And I still practice those things to this day because what you'll start doing and what I've done in the past is I want to see that account grow, right? Like flipping accounts. Like I want to see the $1,000 turn into a $10,000 account. Yeah, but you take one bad trade and that $10,000 account's gone. So that's what I have been responding to anyone is, hey, within a 6-month period, can you get profitable? Within a year period, can you get profitable? Within 3 months, can you have 2, 3, green months, things like that. Look at the week in totality. All right, try to keep the position size the same. So if you put $200 or $300 into a trade each time, I've gotten this question too, and Powell's coming on in 5 minutes, so I'll stop talking once he comes on. But that is how to outlook trading more so than long-term investing. Long-term investing is not difficult. It's not difficult. The charts help you, right? Find a better dip, or if we have more dip to come, right? But trading more specifically in this type of market is more, in my opinion, a scalper's market, a day trader's market, taking your profits, running, and then try to look at the outlook long-term. So if you want to buy long dated calls out, 3-4 months ahead, if you want to buy long dated calls out a year out, 2027, that's more so how to do it, unless you strategically know how to swing trade overnight, right? Which I've done a couple of times here. All right. Can I get a 6 in the chat? A 6 in the chat for anybody? Does that serve anybody? What up, chat? Yeah. What's going on, Caleb? What's going on? Hopefully that serves everybody, because you can get discouraged. But the one time you get discouraged, and you may need to take a little break. I've done it before too. I've taken a week off, a couple of weeks off, and I'm like, hey, there's so much more opportunity. Like, I'll give you an example here. I'll give you some free money trades. All right. As Apple is falling, okay, now Apple and Amazon, Apple, Google, Amazon, as these top companies are falling, that gives an opportunity to buy up the dip for a recovery. So what I'm looking at, and I told my community, is I'm looking at Apple and Apple and Google as falsifies news, right? Like Apple saying, hey, I want to do a search engine AI and put it in there for Safari is a random news article that scared some people out of their position and got their stop losses filled. So as Apple is coming into this support, right, back into 190, back into these lower ends of the ranges, I might need to be a little bit careful about where it's going to stop, okay? Because it could come lower, but Apple's back in support, right? With gaps back up. So these are the types of moves on solid tech companies you want to see, because here's how the move could be next. Right? So do you see those gaps back to the upside on Apple? We know Apple's going back up. So if I see these gaps back up to 200, 205, 210, back up here into 225, that gives me an opportunity to go look and plan for, man, I could, have my summer paid for potentially if we have a trade deal done. Because if a trade deal is done, right? And I know we got 2 minutes. If a trade deal is done, we're spurring higher. Okay. In the short term, I'm just saying in the short term, if a trade deal is done, we could have a nice bullish trend during the next couple of months until the next earnings report. Okay. So that means I'd go out to August. Now they're going to be pricey, and I'd go out to maybe July. And do you see the interest on the 230 calls? Now that's a little bit further out of the money, but you got 2 months on it. They're $134 for trading options. Okay. So are you going to let that $134 go to zero? No, you're going to keep your stop loss on. So you ask yourself, maybe I spent $134, not financial advice, but you take a look at it, spend $134, right? And maybe I keep my stop loss at 50%. So you're saying I'm willing to risk $70 for Apple to start trending back up. And this $134, $137 roughly can go to $400, $500, $600, right? Over a course of 2 months, potentially, because we just charted it out. So that's just a trade idea that I may look at. Low risk, very high reward that I can go further out for trading options, right? Did that help anybody? Okay. So I like to confirm levels a little bit more to make sure that we have a support. Same thing with Google, right? I think this is a little bit of a scare, but where we're coming back into support, 145, 140s, right? And Google, well, most likely it had a solid earnings report. So Google will probably want to come back up and retest 170. So if I go further out, those are even probably cheaper. If I go out to July and go up to the 170 calls, right? Maybe even the 160s I spend $500 on, something like that. I could look at maybe June 20th, about a month out, maybe get a little recovery, right? 165, $200. So that's what I'm typically looking at when I'm looking at quote unquote easy money per se. All right. So do your own due diligence. If you still don't understand, you're more than welcome to join our community or ask away. Right. Because my goal and objective is to get people curious. And when you can't unsee. Okay. So Powell should be stepping on stage in a minute. Look at these Google contracts. 3,000%. Do I got to blow that up for folks? Look at these contracts. Just this week's 3,000% on your money. So $12 turned into $500. $12 to $500. Now, we don't know when these things are going to happen, but they will. We don't know what's going to spur it lower, but there was a gap below. So we don't know what's going to spur the market higher, but that gap will probably get filled back up to 200 on Google at some point, right? At some point. So it will be back to all-time highs. Maybe it needs to come back into this moving average there closer to 140 or 136 again. All right. So that's just options. You're more than welcome to buy shares as well. There's Powell speaking. There's our spur higher, trap shorts, squeezed higher. All right. So what I typically do on FOMC, as we're learning here, is I don't necessarily listen. I listen back to what Powell is saying once he, stops speaking, right? I just want to see the reaction of the market. So if I see a big bullish candle and we reclaim and get back all the way up here and we're squeezing, he must be saying something a little bit more dovish or bullish. If I see rejections and we just can't get back above that yellow line, that VWAP right there, then it must be a little bit more sentimental where he's just still a little bit concerned, right? So these were nice scalps, as you can see, trading down into him. He gets on stage, trades up into him, okay? And then the market will settle in wherever it wants to settle in and you trade off those levels. right? Check chat. We good? Yeah. So there's money to be made all over the place. And I think, I get some responses on my story sometimes. It's like, man, like I see it being made, but like, what is my strategy? Right. And if you were a busy person, meaning you got kids, you got a family, you got a job, you got other things, right? And you want to trade, right? You want to trade. I always recommend looking at the upside, okay? Looking at the upside because the market goes up. So if you want to trade options more specifically, you're getting very interested in some Google long dated calls the more it pulls back, okay? You're getting more interested in potentially some Apple long dated calls the more it pulls back. So if you are a busy person and you can't be on the charts every single day, you just want to, I like trading both sides, but I tell a busy person, just think calls. Just the market goes up. You don't want to trade against it. Wait for any red days. Okay. And you want to trade options, like you want to, not just buy shares, but also you want to make some money on some options. Wait for the market to pull back and have those deep, for example, 1% down days, 2% down days, fill these gaps back down below. And that's where you want to get involved potentially for calls. Put them 2 months out, 3 months out, spending $2, $3, $4, potentially $500, spending a little bit more money, right? And you know that, hey, I've got time on my side, right? Because if you can't be on the charts actively and see where the levels are going and you're trading weeklies or even 2 weeks out, you can get chopped up. You can lose value. It can go against you a little bit. And you're like, oh man, I forgot about that option I put in. All right. So that's my recommendation for busy folks, that you can trade options when you're busy, but you really want those deep pullbacks. And that's where the charts help you. So for example, if I were to say for someone who is busy right now, I'd probably let QQQ pull back and fill that gap down below. And then wherever your specific stock that you're looking at, Google, Apple, Amazon, whatever, that's where you want to get involved potentially. Let that gap fill below, let it pull back a little bit, and then start looking at those longer dated calls on your respective stocks. Like let NVIDIA pull back and fill those gaps back below. Get your calls involved around 90, 95, 98, 100, closer to that level, right? That's where the charts help busy people that can't be on the charts every day. They're missing trades. They're like, man, like how can I get involved with this trading? That's how you safely do it, is trade more on the swing trading side, but only choosing the call side. Does that help people? Right? Because I love trading puts, and when I'm signaling puts in my community or I'm trading against the market, right? It's typically very fast, very quick. It happens within a day or so, or that particular day. And if you can't catch that, right, then just wait. Right? Just wait. All right. So that's my recommendation. Hopefully that helps anybody. Because you hear people saying, oh, you can trade puts, you can trade calls, you can trade both. But if you can't personally commit a little bit of time, and I'm not saying all of your time, I'm just saying, hey, can I look at the charts for an hour a day? Did I do my due diligence after hours? And am I staying up at night to rechart everything? Right? Did I chart on the weekends? If you're not doing those things, right, it doesn't matter what community or who you're listening to or taking signals from or anything, you're not going to understand when to get in, when to get out, and what's going to happen at those levels. You're just entering something. And then when I say I'm out, or someone says they're out, or someone said, hey, here's the stop loss, did you respect that? Like, oh no, I didn't respect that. No one can do anything about that. Right. So I I truly love educating. And when I'm educating, I really want folks to, nothing's really happening right now. So that's why I'm talking. Okay. We're broken back above here. I'm not trying to get involved in this channel. You can kind of see that we've been chopping all day. Now we're just back to break even. Look, we got to break out of this channel. All right. SPY's got to get above 564 and break above those pre-market highs. If we push all the way back up into this 566, 567, right, then we can squeeze. But nothing's really happening right now until he gets off a stage. So let's see. Appreciate you, Trent. Anybody else that's rewatching, if you're not able to type or comment, all right, let me know. Let me know questions, thoughts. If you have any questions about my story or who I am and you're watching this, you want to learn more about me, let me know. Some people just really want to learn more about the person. Let's see. Like nothing's really happening. This is the boring part of trading. Or okay, we're getting some volume here coming in. He must be saying something. See the activity on that candle, that 5-minute candle, top left. Google still selling, bottom right. I'm so glad I didn't get involved with this today. It's not at my levels for trading. I needed it at least close to, I said yesterday on the video, I needed at least close to 568 to 570 on SPY, and then I'll check out anything that needs to be traded. I need it underneath 555, and then I know it's going to sell into 550. It's just sitting right at 560, right in the middle. Do not want to get involved in this chop until volume picks up in one direction. And it will do it after he stops speaking. Right now, holding support. For those inside Leverage University, the reason I came on live today is because, you know, I personally think that a lot of folks want to review and need to hear while the market's moving. Because I can do a video all day. But a lot of folks have not seen what you mean by 555 holding. If you see a big red candle and you want to enter puts or sells, still has not cleared the lows. You could have taken it up here, 560 failure, taking it down for 4 points. Let's see what Disney's doing still. Hopefully Disney's popping a little bit higher. Okay, great. Get back up to that 103, maybe even a little bit higher. Hopefully this man doesn't yap all day today. Let's see what some sentiments that he's talking about. Typically, Bloomberg dude has it. Some summaries of what he's talking about. Rate cut bets are slipping. Yeah, I don't blame it. Number of rate cuts in 2025. It's a forecast of how many cuts they're thinking. So Wall Street is split. Goldman Sachs saying 3 cuts, 1 in July, 1 in September, 1 in November. Morgan Stanley is saying 0 cuts. B of A saying 4 cuts. Powell said, no hurry. We can be patient. That man Powell's not backing down on nothing that man Trump is saying. I expect that. Trump can say he wants forcing him to cut rates all day. That man Powell's not going anywhere. A great deal of uncertainty about tariffs. Time to wait before adjusting policy. Avoiding persistent inflation will depend on size, timing of tariffs, and inflation expectations. All these sentiments are exactly what I've been talking about, exactly what we have been kind of saying what would probably happen. That man Powell is not going to cut rates, and he's still uncertain. If you were in the decision to make interest rate cuts, right, make an executive decision, there's nothing that says to cut rates right now. if you don't know what's going to happen with tariffs and how they're going to affect, you could send the market into a complete spiraling downside if you cut too early. So a lot of folks, I know we want rate cuts. Like you want to refinance your home. You want to get a lower car interest rate before the tariffs hit. You want to, all these things, but you want to be able to take out a business loan at a lower rate. Like it's just the consumer wants cuts. The market wants cuts. But if you cut too early, it's kind of like the 2020 situation when they cut rates to a drastic, and then we had 2022 come in. It will spur the market higher in a short term, but then what's the long-term effects of it? So I think personally, like 2022, remember when they started hiking rates? That'd be crazy, but I'm surprised they're not thinking about hiking rates. Personally, I think some of these reports are saving the day. So as a reminder, if anyone is new, just not sure if anyone's popping in that's new. If you are new and you're just popping in, we're in the FOMC meeting. This is a meeting that happens. Where's the meeting dates? I need this. FOMC meeting dates 2025. You can prepare for these, and these are when the interest rate decisions will be made one way or the other. Okay, so we got one in May, which is happening right now. We got one in June, one in July, and they're typically, they're at different times, but I'm looking at the third Friday of the month, or Wednesday. So if you want to put these on your calendar, these are when the interest rate decision days are going to be happening for cuts, hikes, pauses, whatnot. So next one's June 17th, June 18th, which is ironically that contract date I've been looking at as we may sell into that next interest rate decision. Now, if a trade deal is done tomorrow or this weekend, we'll gap up next week. Then I'll look to short it. The only thing that's saving this market right now is truthfully, because all the earnings, if y'all have noticed, all the earnings reports from every company have had weak forward guidance. Weak forward guidance. All of them. Meta's just a beast, but every single company has had weak forward guidance. AMD, everyone thought it was going to just go crazy. After hours, it popped to 106, sold all the way back off, fell back underneath 103, and then came down to 96, and it's pretty much not moved anywhere on its earnings. Probably going to sell back off. Right? So AMD had a great earnings beat. But I said in the video yesterday, how can you, if you're the owner of AMD, or excuse me, the CEO, or, the C-suite of AMD, how can you say what is going to happen if you don't know what's going to happen with tariffs? So you just keep buying the dip shares. If you're trading, you let those gaps fill below. I personally, that's the way I like to trade long-term swing trades personally, is if any gaps are below, I want to let those gaps fill, get involved with those gaps to the downside if they're close. So I want to grab AMD back up at closer to 80, 85. AMDL shares are good right now. You can still dollar cost average into those at $2 to $3 on AMDL shares. GGLL, Google Longs, 20 to 25 on GGLL for shares. It's a Google leveraged ETF. It's essentially an easier way, in my opinion. It's leveraged, So be careful. But it's a cheaper way to get involved in your respective, stocks that you love. So if you can't get a full Google share, or, maybe, don't want to get 100 shares of Google for your first time at $140, and that's just not in your cards, you can get involved in some long shares, and you can get potentially 10 shares for $250, of GGLL. We know Google will go back up over time, and it will be back up at 40, 50, $60. So you will double your money from that entry from 20 to $25 on GGLL. NVDL, same thing. NVIDIA. Someone doesn't want or can't or is not willing to, right? They can buy NVDL shares, right? Maybe get involved back at 15 to $20 to load up, right? If it falls lower, right? If this turns into a little bit of a bear flag and we come a little bit lower down here, get involved at 15 to $20, and then double your money back to 30 plus 60 and then $80 as NVIDIA may go back to all-time highs. Win over the next 5 years. So all right, let's check back with the market. Okay, big sell-off here. Big rejection. Massive rejection there. Massive rejection. He must have said something, or he's either off the stage. Coming into power hour here, so forming lower highs from him, but do we flip? We're still in a range here, but that is a pretty big rejection there. Do we flip from here, squeeze back up at the end of the day? I think it's still a little bit concerning trying to short this. It is getting rejected, but could they be building out a position to go higher? Who knows? But glad I didn't get involved today. Don't see anything worth it. I really want to see how Google finishes out the day today. So anytime I'm having a falling knife like this, you can pick up shares, but as far as trading it, I need to see some type of confirmation because Google is back under 151 and 153. See that previous high right there, 153, back underneath that 153. So that is now back to a resistance. Just saw some crazy news. I'll put my pivot point right there, which is at 147. So it is a little bit oversold. So I want to see how that steps in. And then I want to put my final level back here at those double bottom lows at 140. This is still technically a higher low right there, right there. And if Google can hold up right around this 147, 148 level, it's a pretty bearish daily candle. So but it is going to be back up to 170 plus very, very soon. See those gaps back up. That daily 200 back up there at that 171 area, which will be right there. Man, that Disney looks good. On Disney, you had good earnings. Give us a little pop back up a little higher there. Let's see what Palantir is doing. Not really moving here, but definitely showing resistance. If you watched my video from yesterday, that 112 rejecting almost to the T, that 112 rejection. If this somehow flips this week, right, we could definitely see back into 100. I'd love for it to get some kind of spur higher to fill that gap, but if it stays underneath 112 and 110, it wants to retest that 104, 105 area one more time. Are you trading today? I am not trading today. Hopefully you understand why. There's nothing worth trading right now other than maybe, Disney 2 weeks out. Yeah, you can get some little scalps, but look at this chart. It's still channel bound sideways. Yes, it's trending downwards, but it's kind of like a guessing game right now. Look at this Microsoft chart. Absolutely completely sideways until he stops speaking and it chooses a direction. NVIDIA, completely sideways. So I understand it's not sexy to not take a trade and not see someone just put something in and take some and make some money so you can actually prove that it's right. But a lot of the best days are just not trading. Like I've only taken one trade this week, and that was AVGO, a nice little swing trade on Tuesday into Wednesday. Oh no, Monday into Tuesday. Now, what I typically do if I don't trade something, I go ahead and set my trades up that I like for the following day or even potentially the following week. So if I'm seeing weakness around certain areas, this is where people just leave and oh man, we're not trading. Okay, cool. I'll just walk away. But then you're not prepared for the next day because you didn't watch and see how things reacted for just a little bit. So what am I seeing right now? I'm seeing this top wick come in underneath 561. So I want to mark that level because 561, as long as we're below that, could be that rejection that comes down into that 550. So then someone misses the trade because they didn't mark that level or they didn't watch today. Right? As long as we're above 557 and 555, okay, that is holding as support right now. So if we hold this right now and you think it's going lower and then we pop all the way back up into 567 tomorrow and you didn't mark that off as support, we could go all the way back up there to retest that high. Doesn't take long. The more time you have on the charts, the better you're going to be over the long term. And sometimes it just takes I don't sit here and I'm like, when I'm not on live or not trading, I'll be, doing some other things, handling client calls. I'll walk and get some coffee and I'll go ahead and have my levels marked and my alerts on. Right. But you have to get a feel for how the market is moving. Is it bearish? Is it bullish? Are we holding? Right now we're holding. So it's still bullish. So I don't want to think shorting the market right now. It's still in the back of my mind, but only at certain levels, not right now. There's that squeeze. We're starting to get a little bit of volume to the upside right now. I think we're trying to retest that pre-market highs somehow, some way, maybe at the end of the day. SPY's trying to get to that 566, 565. Here's how the candle would look in the next, within the next hour. I think it's trying to do this personally. Based off how that level's holding. It's a strong 30-minute candle. Kind of proud of myself this week. I've been very, very disciplined because as a person who scalps and likes very quick trades, when I see something happen within 5 to 15 minutes, I'm like, God damn, missed it. All right. But it's always another trade. So, because I see how much the contracts went, but you got to be active on the charts to trade like that. See what we do at power hour. 38 more seconds. Let's see how this next candle opens up. This next 30-minute candle. If you're truly trying to learn, let me see. Folks still hanging out? Cool. If you're truly trying to learn this, you need to take notes on the different types of times in the market. So the best time to trade, trading wise, okay, is typically when the first hour and a half, maximum 2 hours. That's when you're going to get the most volume. Okay. So first hour and a half or so, if I can find a trade within that time frame, I want to get in and out of that trade ideally, unless I see some where I can hold runners and hold the trade a little bit longer. If it's a day trade. Okay. Middle of the day is when you typically want to see and mark your levels. Okay. So that would be 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. Around noon Eastern Standard Time is when you typically want to just be out of most things, see if there's a trade setup, because typically within that time frame, you can see what direction has been chosen. Are we going down? You can start marking your levels. You can say, hey, if it pops back up into that level, I'm going to take a trade off of it. Pops down in that level, I'll take a trade off of it. So middle of the day is when sometimes you can find some of the best trades that are beginning to set up. And then the final hour of the day is called power hour for anyone. How do you trade power hour? Typically volume kind of picks back up in one direction or the other. So by this time, which is 12 o'clock p.m. PST, okay, which is probably crazy for some of y'all because you're like, yo, it's 3 o'clock my time. It's only lunch. I hadn't even eaten, okay? So during this time frame, I'm typically looking at what levels are holding, who has control for the day. And right now it's telling me that bulls still have some control because we're holding these lows with some volume coming off that level. Does that mean I'm going to trade it? No, not necessarily, but I'm formulating an idea of who has control. Okay. So then I decide, do I want to take, where is it trying to go? And do I want to take a trade or not? Right now, this is telling me that if it pans out and we start getting strength coming into the end of the market once Powell stops speaking, then we could just continue with that bullish strength back up. Right? That's what it's telling me. We're in this range right now of these two yellow lines. And if it's in the middle of the range, I don't typically want to get involved. So that's how I make my decision of what type of trade or if I even want to take a trade or not. It's in this channel, 565, 556, 557. And you're kind of just picking and guessing and choosing which direction it may want to go. There's still some selling pressure. I think that this looks like more of a head and shoulders, right? But it's got to break this neckline of, 556, so to speak. Got to break that previous low. Then you can start selling off pretty aggressively into 550. So it's kind of a crapshoot. Lower highs, but support holding. So this is how I talk to myself when I'm sitting here watching the markets doing other things. And I go ahead and find, okay, if I don't like a day trade, what I'll typically switch to is I'll start seeing, man, what looks good for further out? Are there any shares I can pick up? Are there any long dated calls that look pretty good? None of the tech stocks other than I think Apple, if the market falls, Apple will fall down into the 180s again. Want to leave that alone. Palantir stuck in a range. It needs to be at the top or just fall down to the bottom. Microsoft, I love this gap fill, but still strong. Not really any volume selling just yet. So just waiting for it to go higher and may try to look for a put position there. Meta just strong, wide ranges. I'd probably look for a sell on Meta close to 630 up there if it doesn't want to fall back underneath 580. So nothing there. Middle of the range. Netflix just strong. AVGO, love that gap to the downside. It just needs to pick up volume, get underneath that 197 again, and then start retesting that low. Nothing there. So I'll just scan through and see if I see any gaps, see if I see anything at solid resistance levels or, specific moving averages. And I start planning and seeing. Tesla, just ugly. What is this chop? Either it needs to get back to 295, 290, fill those gaps, and then fall. It's just 270s of support. Just stay away from that. So there's really nothing other than maybe picking up some shares. I mean, SMCI, it's awful earnings, but could recover here. And then I'll look at some of the earnings. Disney, right? Still holding, but still struggling right here at this, underneath this 103. Right. So going to watch Disney. I don't think it's going to get too much away from me. I just wanted a little bit higher to confirm, get another big rejection, but I love this gap below. Give it some time. So that's probably the only one I'm really looking at that I could maybe enter some that, it's a further out contract. Uber also had earnings. Yeah. Holding support. Previous highs at 82, nothing there. Crypto needs to break above 400 or just nothing there. Looks like an inverse head and shoulders here for Coinbase heading into its earnings. Pull back into that 180 level, 175 level, fill that gap below. That'd be good. Something like this. If we can do that, that'd be great. So it looks pretty good. Or it doesn't pull back and this turns into just a bull flag. Yeah. So out of all those, it's like all the tech just need to wait for SPY and QQQ to choose a direction. AMD had earnings, so that's probably going to still have some volume on it. I want to kind of watch that to see if it breaks trend. I want to really get that gap fill down below. And I really want the NVIDIA gap fill, but it's just not. I think it really wants up here personally, unless some news comes in. I mean, breaks above 116, it's gone. It's just trying to choose a direction, and bulls are not letting that thing go down right now. So out of all those, I would say Disney. I could, have little risk in. with high reward. I think Dutch Bros has earnings coming up. Pretty nice consolidation above this 57. So yeah. Questions, thoughts, perspectives? I was trying to give it till he gets off stage so everyone can see how we and including myself, see how we react. So welcome to throw some questions in the chat. In the meantime, if this man is still yapping, it's just gonna sit here. It's a non-eventful FOMC. I think because everything was expected. No Pope has been elected just yet. Powell asked about March projections for 2 rate cuts. Says can't make a prediction now, wait until June. Powell, people are worried, but shock hasn't hit just yet. Yeah. Don't see big economic effects in the data yet from the tariffs. And quantitative easing wasn't beyond the confines of our mandate. Powell, he said, my gut tells me that uncertainty is extremely elevated. Yeah, probably. Makes sense. I mean, what kind of certainty? People are just hoping that, I think people are trading off and trading off vibes right now. All right, they're just trading off vibes. That essentially means that if you like Trump and you think he's going to save the day, right? If you think that the tariffs are good and that he's faking everybody out and whatnot, and market's going to spur back to all-time highs, then you're buying the dip and you're just thinking everything's going to go up, right? But that's trading off of vibes. That's off your gut feeling that he's going to do that. Do you know? No. Right? The tariffs hadn't even been implemented yet. That's why these I think will spur higher, right? We can spur a little bit higher. But what happens when these earnings come back out in Q2, Q3, even Q4 of this year, and these companies are like, we don't know what to project? Long term, 2, 3, 4, 5 years will be fine. I'm talking about the remainder of the year, right? Can we go lower? Which is why I think dollar cost averaging for shares and keeping day trades, swing trades, light trading to bring in some income is good. And it's also, I think too, like, as much as people don't want to learn, they just want to make money. This is the best time to just like watch the market sometimes, like paper trade, right? Trade less contracts, 1 or 2 contracts if you're trading options. If you're trading futures, go to micros and just get comfortable with trading, because this type of market will come back around. We'll have another volatile market, obviously not another Trump market, but unless this man does some Houdini and makes some rule that he's doing a 3rd term, which is wild. I don't think that's going to happen, but like, just because you're not making money does not mean don't trade or don't look at the markets, don't have your charts up, because you can take notes on how oh man, I remember how May was in 2025 when you're trading in 2026. Oh man, I remember how we looked going into tax season in March. If you don't remember those things, then you're going to be SOL next year. So people stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. Like, oh man, I forgot that. Yeah, you'll just keep starting over. Oh man, I forgot how an FOMC goes. Or man, I forgot to check the economic calendar. I forgot PMI, like CPI was next week. Did you know that? I'm not saying that it's not a, like, someone knows more than you. It's just like being on your P's and Q's so you understand what to look for. Have a system. Every week, check the economic calendar. Check the economic calendar for the following week. Check it for the month. What data reports? Oh, okay, CPI, PPI. What does that look like? Oh, those create opportunities. Oh, FOMC week. I'll take a week off there. Oh, earnings is coming up these weeks. I can, just like we did on Eli Lilly, I can prepare for those. So you can have, 3, 4, 5 trades within a quarter time frame if you prepare for those types of things and you study the market. Go ahead and mark your levels. If it gets to here, I'm ready for that trade. This is ugly right here. We'll just probably, market makers will just squeeze it to the level it wants to squeeze to once he gets off the stage. Nasty action. A couple of scalps before, but if you're in a trade right now and you're just sitting there, you're just waiting, and especially if you're in the wrong contract, you're getting chopped up right now. Absolutely chopped up. Contract is losing value if you're trading options. If you're in the futures market, you better have your stop losses on. I told my community transparently, if you're not in leverage and you just want to know what's going on, I told them today, like, it sucked for me to tell them that. Like, it sucked for me to tell folks, like, hey, I'm not going to be in here again today. Like, I wasn't in on Monday. I wasn't in on Tuesday. I threw some trade ideas, and I'm like, I don't like it this morning. I don't like it. And my prouder moments are when someone can see why. Like, Brian, there's money in the markets. Why aren't we trading? Like, why can't I make money today? Yeah, you can, but is it the best setup to trade this on SPY? No. So I actually am proud today that, I told everybody, hey, just chill, right? Like, protect your capital, protect your money. If you made some money today, great. But like, look at NVIDIA. What is this doing? It's just consolidating above the highs. Now it's preparing for a big move, because once it breaks over 116, we'll take the retest. It's going to 120. Like, just keep that on your alerts. If it breaks up and we see NVIDIA 116.90, 117, we'll wait for the retest, find an entry, and then it's going to 120. Right? It's hard to trade the downside, but if we get a break below 112 and it's starting to hold below 112, 111s, okay, cool. Maybe we can take it down to 108. So mark those on NVIDIA if you're an NVIDIA person. 116 and roughly 111.50, 112. Those are the levels we want on NVIDIA to trade it either way. I tried it. Y'all know. I tried it all last week, and there was just no continuation. None. I said, I'm done with it. You know how hard it is to hold space? Yep. We'll chill till next week. Appreciate you coming back, Tanvir. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, there may be some opportunities tomorrow. If we can get some levels that we want, like I want close to 570 on SPY. I'll look at where everything else is and react off of that level. 568, 566. Like, I want those pre-market highs on SPY to retest back up in this range right here, this pop. Previous day highs, 564, 565. Like, I want that to try to retest to see what it does there. Right? If it's stuck in the middle, or I want the lows. So we may get something tomorrow, right? I'll take a look in the morning, because I've been off all week inside of our community for live trading. But this is what I normally do. For anyone that wants to know what goes on in leverage, like, this is what I normally do in our Discord. Is it looks like this. I'm talking through the market, and if I see a trade, I go ahead and say, hey, I'm loading these contracts. If you're trading futures, hey, SPY, you're welcome to trade ES, QQQ, you're welcome to trade MNQ or NQ, IWM, RTY. right? And we're trading, and I'm like, hey, I'm in starters. But this is not maybe I'll do one pretty soon on live just so I can have it recorded on the YouTube channel so people can see what it's like inside. The only difference is I'm able to communicate with our community a little bit differently. That's the only benefit of being inside is I'm able to answer questions. The chat's a little bit more, up. So if someone, hey, Brian, are you in? What's your average cost? Things like that I can see a little bit better inside of our Discord. Because if you're here publicly and you're taking a trade with me, you can't really ask that much. It's like, hey, I'm in. Here's my average cost. And you're like, man, do I enter now? Do I enter now? Do I enter now? So it's the only difference. Only difference. I also on my live trading, I do also, tell folks if I'm entering like a swing trade or if I'm looking at share opportunities. So if I can't find a day trade, right, I'll look and say, hey, I may look at Disney puts for 2-3 weeks out, I'm in. All right. So that trade may take a couple of weeks, but I let folks know when I'm in that. All right. Oh man, this Lily. Gosh. Yeah, we should have entered that 750 put for the 16th. I would have still been holding that. That's the only difference. Like, yeah, I made a bunch of money with last week's contracts. But that 750 on Lily, I would have been floating $1,000 right now. Those contracts were $120, and now they are $1,000, and you've got another week left on them. That gap fully fills. That'll turn $100 into $4,000. Sometimes those longer dated ones is fun to turn $80 into 2,000 or whatever, but should have jumped into some of those 750s. It's kind of how I'm looking at Disney. Really want this up and a little bit higher into that 106. See that jumped up above that daily 200. Daily 200 is pretty important. If it fails back underneath that daily 200, 99.89, it's going to start drastically. But I like top ticking, getting the best entry. So I'm really, really eyeing that overextension. Kind of sitting at that weekly moving average right there. Best area of interest is up in this 105, 106. May have a little bit more room on a weekly. Daily getting a little bit high up there. So definitely 4 hours. Got a little bit more, but just that daggone trade deal this weekend or tomorrow. All right, we'll spend about another 10 minutes in here. Another 10 minutes. I'm going to give it till 30 minutes till in the market. So any final last questions, please throw it in here. I don't want this recording to be too long, just in case someone wants to skip ahead and rewatch, because it didn't take one single trade, but hopefully you learned something. And now this is live on our YouTube channel for people to refer to. So you can rewatch this and prepare for the next FOMC June 17th, 18th. So you saw what happened. We jump in typically to FOMC, see where the market is right before. Typically, this is what happens. So about 30 to 15 minutes before the actual reading comes in, right? So do you see this kind of selling? Where was the reading? Which was at 11. Okay. That's when the reading came in right here. Okay. So you see that big sell that came in right when the reading reacted. So you'll get an initial reaction that you can typically trade off of right? And I always lower the size of my contracts or either my futures contracts. So I'll go into maybe 1 or 2 micros or something like that for MES or MNQ. For SPY or whatever I'm trading, I'll typically do lighter size. So I'll do like, maybe I'll look at a 0 DTE for 560 puts and then just take it down really quick and get out for 50, 60, 70% of my money, right? So that's typically what happens about 30 minutes to 15 minutes before. That's why you saw me jump in at 145 EST. Okay. Once that first 15 minutes kind of comes in, right, then the market settles into wherever it wants to settle. It typically rebounds. If it goes up before or on reaction, it'll typically sell right into him. So whichever direction it goes, it typically does 1 or 2 things. Now, not all the time, but most of the time. So if this would have went up with a big green candle, it would probably sold down into him speaking. If it goes down into him speaking, it typically pops and reverses up into him speaking. And then it just settles in until he gets off. So just take note of those things on FOMC days. And then I go ahead and mark my levels for how we reacted. So I see a big reaction down here. We reclaimed, got back above that 558. That was a big reclaim level. Reclaim just means we spurred down below, came back, reclaimed it. Volume came off of that 558 level. So now that is holding again as a big support. Failed back underneath, trapped, higher low, came up. And we'll see how we react again if we bounce off of that or fail back below that green line. Still sideways action though. So 5 more minutes and I'm bouncing. Let me know if y'all have any final questions. Go enjoy your Wednesday afternoon. If you want to join Leverage University, make sure you jump in so you don't miss some of the trades that we have for the summer. Some of the swing trade ideas, as a lot of things are going to be happening over this weekend. So we got trade deal, we got FOMC out of the way. Just letting folks know. So I'm preparing more so for a month out, 2 months out, things of that nature, for some bigger trade ideas or share buying opportunities. That's so funny. Powell said, there was a question that came in from President Trump. They said, so Powell, how do you feel on the pressure from President Trump on trying to force you to cut rates? He said, doesn't affect doing our job at all. We'll continue to do what we do. Man's a G. Oh my gosh. All right, coming in the final 30 minutes here. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're rewatching, you're still not subscribed. Really does help the channel out. We're growing, so would appreciate it. Would appreciate it. Again, before we dip out, all right, go to brianmceldery.com. Got to put it out there. Doing free videos here, giving up on my time. So I think I've earned the right to share what we got. All right. So Leverage University, there it is. You can hit the enroll button. That's just my first and last name.com. Hit the enroll button. It'll take you to WAP. We are on the WAP platform, which is now owned, co-founder and owned by Iman Ghazi, which I think is a great, great move for them. I've used Kajabi. I've built on Squarespace. I've used all different types of platforms as an entrepreneur the last 7 to 8 years, and helping people in business coaching, life coaching, things of that nature in this realm here, building out websites, building out businesses. I love the WAP platform. So you see a lot of folks on those platforms, and I think it's great. Trading Bootcamp, we typically offer once a month. So just finished up once a month. So if you need a little bit more support, or you need a 3-day boot camp, or you need to redo it again to learn more things, you can always join there. I'm thinking about doing a little bit of a, I think I mentioned earlier, some type of like mini course. May do that for like a small fee or something. I don't know yet, but just trying to give people the basic understanding. Like you can hear me all day, but if you forget, like you need to have a referring back to like, okay, support resistance, finding a right contract, trading futures, and you can rewatch videos multiple times. But inside of our Discord, I'm always recording trainings as well. So we have a university section as well, along with other business sections here. Down in the university, you can see there trading trainings, all our trainings in our university. So if someone wants to understand fair value gaps, I can record that very quickly. If they want to understand what do you mean by gaps, they can rewatch that video. Setting stop losses on Robinhood, stop loss on Legend, it just goes up and up and up and up and up. So I record those very, very quickly on demand for anyone that's inside. All right. I hit some small scalps in the AM, but that's it. Yep. You know we are ready right now. Week of patience. Yeah. Yep. Definitely a week of patience for sure. Kind of broke that green line there, that 558. Still selling off a little bit here. Got 2 more minutes left. And I'm wondering if we'll sell into the close. Not sure, but looking like it's IWM top right-hand screen. Starting to get a little bit more selling pressure, breaking new lows potentially. Let me see IWM. Is it close to any gaps there? Just gets messy down here. 195. And those gaps above, like that gap above didn't even fill today. That's what kind of concerns me. Getting trapped down here on this sell. Now it is kind of breaking below those previous lows there, 196. All right, we're in the final 30 minutes of the market. Let's go back to our 6 chart, see how that's looking. Going to a 30-minute. So that previous 30-minute candle kind of equal there. Popped up into Powell, popped down after. Not really any type of engulfing or anything, but definitely see buyers still stepped in right here. It's just ugly. It's just ugly. Now, something could happen, Dennis. That's up to you. I mean, I need to do a recording on the MOC orders, but something could happen the final 10 minutes of the market, wherever it settles in. If you start seeing bullish strength up into it, I mean, I could see this flipping with the MOC orders and just falling off a cliff to fill that gap down below. So you see what it's doing now is rejecting that green line. All right, so it's now broken below, came back up, rejecting that green line, now flipping. So that's weakness right there. I said I was going to be out, but we're having some action. I really wanted this to be recorded on the channel, so give it a little bit longer. Another 30 minutes seems long, especially since I hadn't eaten. Could literally go anyway. But the meeting wasn't necessarily good news. Everything Powell said, right? Remember we read that. If you want to take notes on where to read those things, I typically just resort to Walter Bloomberg. Nice Twitter feed there. Just gives pretty much a full update on what that man's talking about. Everything he said was pretty much more on the hawkish side, meaning bearish. Okay. Everything he said, well, wait, we don't know. We need to see. I've never asked for a meeting with the president, would never do that. It hasn't happened that the president wants to meet with me, so they're still beefing. Focus is making the best decisions for the American people. Right now, the American people want rate cuts. He's not giving them. Fed doesn't have the tools that are good to address supply chain issues. So all of this sounds like uncertainty, which is not a good sentiment for the market. Market doesn't like uncertainty. So that's why we're selling, and we could sell into lower levels. So if you want to scalp it down, that's up to you. That I'm leaving it alone. Let's see what SPX would look like. Yesterday, SPX went from 135 per contract to 1,200 in 5 minutes. This is crazy. Really thought it would fill those gaps up to the top and retest pre-market highs instead of just fading all day. That head and shoulders is really starting to pan out here. I mean, a bigger time frame, that IWM picking up a little bit of volume there, a little bit of steam underneath that 197. Turn that 197 into a rejection now. Get some type of retest. I mean, that's a pretty big break right there on an hourly candle. See right there, that 197 broke underneath, went all the way back to 191. And rate cuts, having rate pauses are not good for small caps, right? Small cap companies need rate cuts. They need rate cuts. So kind of breaking underneath this moving average here on IWM. All right. There's that's daily 20. It's trying to retest. So I think IWM could be some value this week if we can get a little retest. If I can get a little mini pop in the morning, I might look at that. All right, just a little bit of a pop and a failure underneath 198. May look at IWM towards the end of the week, selling off into that daily 20 back down here into that 191 area. But just need a little bit more confirmation. Need to see how it feels the day, because you're not going to miss the trade. IWM is not going to, in my opinion, fall $7 in the next 20 minutes. Hey, Brian, it could, but yeah, it could fill this gap back up at the top too. They can definitely move $2 in 5 minutes. Still holding that support down there, just not letting it go. So I think buyers are thinking, hey, we need to retest this high. It's a crapshoot right now. Chop fest. Yeah, bro. I'm proud of you, man. Proud of you. Proud of you. Yeah. So gold. Just so I'm not changing up a bunch of charts, because I'm very adamant about that. I'm looking at these charts. So for example, Dennis, what I was charting out on gold. Okay. We know gold. Everyone's been very, very bullish on gold, right? Man, you see gold is going crazy. Just buy more gold, buy more gold. And we recovered off of this bull flag, right? But if I look at GLD, which is what we can trade options on, I still chart it here, right? But what you can do is you can trade this in the futures market, which is MGC, or micro gold, right? The smaller version, right? The less volatile version. So very interested in potentially getting involved in some sells on gold if it pops back up and fills this gap up to 315, right? Right. Gold trades in the futures market very, very well after hours, right? So there's not a lot of movement, in my opinion, on gold during like New York session hours. Gold trades very well like Asian session, later in the day, later in the evening. Okay. If you can look here, when gold sold off was right at yesterday, right here. What was that? What time was that? When the market opened at like 6:30 my time, so around 8:30, 9:30 Eastern PM. So that's typically when gold picks up some volume, is toward like the latter half of the Asian session. So that would be like 8:30, 9 o'clock your time, Dennis. So you can chart gold on GLD if you want, but it moves very, very well. It's very volatile too. So that's why I still personally would consider like micro golds. But you can see what it's doing here. If we do a measured move, yeah, it's got some gaps to fill up below, or above. You can see it's getting stuck at 3,400. What is that? A psych level. So if you get a little pop on gold back up closer to that psych level, can maybe take another rejection lower potentially, right? But remember, gold is very strong. It's an asset that people are buying up in lieu of all this uncertainty. So where's the lower end of range? 3,350. So that's where gold is trying to get to. See right there, 3,320, and then ultimately 3,300. Okay. Which would be, and options move very well too. I mean, I think we top ticked it when I signaled it. So I'm like, man, if I can get one more pop on gold up here, I mean, I would look at some short dated put options potentially on gold. You see those next weeks are already moving 30+%. I mean, I'm looking at it to retest 300, but doing it on options, like you kind of need to get in before the market closes kind of situation. But look at that interest on those gold puts down to 300. So would like it a little bit more pop personally, but I'm looking at gold or GLD more specifically to retest 300, which would be right around in this kind of daily 20. All right, retesting that daily 20. Guess what? It popped up to 318, and then you wake up in the morning, it's at 310. So that was an overnight swing that I didn't want to happen. Right. So that's how to trade. That's what I would suggest, Dennis, as far as how to kind of get comfortable with gold and when the volatility picks up. It's kind of that go-to for me when I'm looking at Asian session and I want some movement a little bit. Right. Is kind of look at gold. It trades very well during the evening or after hours. We're already here, so I'll give it 9 minutes. Just so everyone and for the recording, y'all can see what MOC looks like. Market on call orders, which is the last 10 minutes of the market, you'll see volatility pick up tremendously. So have you ever seen those big squeezes that happen and you're like, what happened at the end of the market? Or those big tanks and falls at the end of the market? There are specific orders that are set in place that market makers want to push the market up to or down to. So you see what's happening right now? Powell must have gotten off the stage. And there's that squeeze. Let's see if it continues. And look at NVIDIA. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's getting above that 116. What did we say? I'm glad we got this on recording. What did we say? My goodness. Hopefully y'all are taking notes of this. So this is what happens when he steps off. The market says, all right, you're done. Cool. Let's go. Let's do what we were going to do anyways. Wow. All right. NVIDIA is going to 120. That's a breakout. It's got to wait for a retest. I'm going to mark this as support right now. Depending on what it does at the end, like the market on call orders, like where it goes. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Give a like for that. What we just talked about. Got to see it to believe it. You got to see it to believe it. I'm glad I didn't get involved one way or the other. Just let it happen and then let it go to our levels. Oh my gosh. Just go to 120 already, NVIDIA. Just go to 120 so I can short you, man. Just go on up there. Just go on up there. Just get to the 120. Right? Let SPY, get to, get stuck up here at pre-market high. Just go up to where you want to go to. All right. I've been waiting on you to do something. Wow. Hopefully y'all like that. Hopefully you liked it. I am on video. Yep. You got caught. So this is a good educational piece right here, everybody. Okay. So if you're rewatching this, you literally saw it play out here. Okay. NVIDIA it was showing strength. It needed to break above that 116, which is done, which we just talked about roughly 30 minutes ago. Okay. So this is a strategy. It's called don't chase this move. You let it break and then find where the retest is. Because what will happen sometimes is you will get this breakout and it'll be a failed breakout and go all the way back down. So you want to confirm, okay, cool. We got bullish momentum. Does it hold this 115.50, 116? Okay. And how do you confirm that? We've got about 15 minutes left in the market. So I'll keep it on a 5-minute time frame. Okay, I'll go back to my 6 charts. I'll keep it on a 5-minute time frame. And if we close above 116, I'll wait for the pullback tomorrow, and that will be a trade. And now if it goes to 120 overnight, it's already back in resistance, and I'll look to short it. Everyone understand? Everybody good with that? So I can go either way. All right. NVIDIA gets up to this 123, 120, and it's already up there. I don't want to get involved with chasing this. It's gone. Congrats to everybody that had calls. Oh man, see, NVIDIA is going up. Well, guess what? SPY is still not going anywhere. Y'all see that? SPY is still below highs. So guess what? NVIDIA will probably reject pretty soon once it gets to its level. Anyone in that AVGO or whatnot, that was stopped. Remember? I had my puts that I took out this morning, and I personally stopped out. I'll find another reentry on those. So still a winning trade. Stopped out, and they were next week's contract, so they were very inexpensive. All right, let's see how we close. Market on call. Orders coming in. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Let me check the chat. Y'all good? Hopefully that was helpful. This move of futures. Sheesh. Yeah. Yeah. Motivation healing. What's going on? Usually I would trade ES, but FOMC always feel like a gamble since there's no momentum, just a range. Yeah, I agree. Especially during this market. All right, we could easily fail this and come all the way back down. It's too wide of a range. So I've been telling my community that, and just in general, what I've been doing is I've been trading futures, but I think options personally right now is a little bit safer because it's tighter ranges, right? The ES and MNQ right? Like I can trade AMD, I can trade Nvidia, I can trade in $4 or $5 option ranges. But when we have like $100 ranges on ES and NQ, I'm like, yeah, you can scalp it, but your stop loss has got to be so tight. It's wild. Could have rejected it at the end of the day. Like could have definitely scalped that end of the day right here off that rejection of 564. That is still underneath resistance. Okay, this is our pullback. So I want you to watch NVIDIA down here to the bottom left. And if you're a futures trader and you're watching this, it does help to watch. Like some futures traders have no idea what's going on with NVIDIA, Amazon, Apple, Google, anything, right? So if NVIDIA holds strong, if I see Microsoft weak and I see SPY, QQQ, or ES futures or NQ futures holding and not getting above their previous resistances and pre-market highs, it's still weak. It's got to clear above that 565 on SPY. This is the retest on NVIDIA. Got to hold that 116. Fails back underneath that 115. It is a failed breakout. So watch this green level here. Need to see that hold and start turning and getting another green bullish candle back up. Otherwise, failed breakout. When you have failed breakouts, it usually accelerates in the opposite direction. Yeah, I should have taken that little short. All right, we got 30 seconds. If anyone's new that's never seen the last 10 minutes of the market, I want you to watch up here on SPY. I want you to watch the 5 minutes here on QQQ. Okay. And I want you to watch NVIDIA, what it does. I'll keep AMD next up here as well. Love that Microsoft 440 rejection again. Let's see what Disney's doing. Still sitting. Last 10 minutes. Here we go. See how that volume picks up? It typically chooses a direction and it goes wherever it wants to go. Right now, sitting at VWAP, failed back underneath 560. NVIDIA failing back underneath that 116. Wow. Nice little bullish push from NVIDIA, but if it can't close above 116, even 115, failed breakout. That'll tell us a lot for tomorrow. What a rejection on SPY, QQQ. It pushed right up into that zone we were talking about, tested those pre-market highs. This could get aggressive. NVIDIA, big failure there. It's trying to hold. Classic example of a break and a retest. Just wait for the level to break. Watch the retest. I typically try to retest on a 5 minute. I'm not trying to enter anything right now. So for clarification, Brian, are you about to enter a trade? No, I'm not. Because it's the end of the day and I don't want to swing anything into the next day personally. This just gives me a setup for potentially the next day. If NVIDIA holds and closes strong, then I know it's probably trying to go to 120. If it deeply fails back underneath this VWAP and 114 and we fail back underneath and we sell some more, not interested in taking it up. Right now, it's holding, as you can see. So it was either going to 120 or trying to go to 108. And it looks like NVIDIA is going to hold strong into close. That's what you want to see typically on a retest. So it's buyers stepping back in. Once a solid red candle, turning green, buyers stepping back in on that retest, buying it up. They got confirmation of a breakout. And I'll look and see what the interest is on those 120 calls this week and see if there's a high amount of interest on them. Yeah, 95,000. They're sitting at $90 right now, so they'll be cheap in the morning, depending on where it is in the morning. SPY and QQQ are still fairly weak, though. That's my only concern. Only concern. Still selling right there. It's got a hold in the close. Appreciate y'all sticking out with me. I believe it was valuable to see this live. A lot of folks have never seen a live session from more so my followers or whatnot. If you're more experienced and you just wanted to check in and you like watching live sessions, cool. It wasn't as sexy because it didn't take a trade, but there are many trade setups that are presenting themselves that we were watching for. Definitely going to scalp something, with that top tick right there. Got a hold NVIDIA. Got a hold, kind of turning that. I'm going to move that up just a little bit at 116. Moving that up at 116 right there. NVIDIA can't go anywhere without SPY. QQQ is trying. See the difference, the correlation at the top. Q, SPY, just kind of fading towards close a little bit. NVIDIA bottom left-hand screen, just trying to get up there. We can get a final squeeze, then we're headed to the top ends. I think this is anticipation of, okay, Powell, you said what you would say, get out the way. And then we still got Trump that could send us higher with this trade deal with Bessent. So every analysis that we've had thus far during this live trading session has been pretty much on par. I'm glad I didn't get involved today. All right, 4 more minutes till close. The video looks like it's going to hold up above that 116. Ironically, I really want to shorten the video personally. I think those gaps below are still very much present. SPY hasn't even retested and filled the gap into 555 yet. It doesn't have to, but typically you would like it to, based on location of NVIDIA. Closer it gets to that 120, 118 to 120. Maybe interested in a short there to fill those gaps back down. All right, last 3 minutes. What do y'all do? You gonna hold? Buyers are like, we got the breakout on the video. Do not let this thing go. Do not let this thing go. We just got the breakout. All right, so nice bullish flag, retest the high. Nice bullish flag, retest the high. Let's look at the video on a bigger time frame here. Nice dip buy, higher low on Google. Might take a look at that tomorrow potentially. A little false downward trend there. I think Google can retest 157 was the breakdown level. So that would be my level that Google tries to get back up to, is up into that 156, 157. So if it can give us one more retest or, find an entry for tomorrow, I may look at that for calls tomorrow. Amazon struggling towards the end of the day. Interesting. Gotta have an open mind. I don't see anything very clear. Just very open-minded tomorrow. NVIDIA, very strong close. Yeah, I don't see anything other than trying to fill this gap at the top. So don't see anything other than just letting it go up here. Really don't trust this breakout personally. I think market makers are just trying to get it up there, right into that 120, 123 area. For anyone that's wondering, as we close out here, this is kind of the trade I'm looking at now. I wanted a pullback a little bit deeper for NVIDIA to go, for calls on, but as long as it's above 116, you can take it up to 121, 123. That is a trade for tomorrow. But I'm kind of maybe looking at that short opportunity. Once it gets up there, people take their profits up into that 122, 123 area. Just to fade back down below to fill some of these gaps. So I'll be taking a look at it. If it presents opportunity, great. Strong close on the video. We'll see. And the only reason I'm looking at the short side, again, is because SPY, QQQ still fairly, in my opinion, a little bit of a weak close. Just couldn't get above that pre-market high unless it squeezes up and futures market takes it up in after hours. Cool. All right. There's a show, folks. We hit our profit target for today. Those are big differences. This move, Black Girl Investor, those are big differences. Hey, what's going on? How are you? What do you mean by those are big differences? And clarify, just want to know, to be honest with you, what do you mean by those are big differences? You mean the correlation between the market and NVIDIA, or the market in general? Just very interested. The future session, I think, is going to be a little bit bullish going into the Asian session. So we might retest some highs if we get closer to that 570 on SPY after hours. If NVIDIA is anywhere close to 120 in the morning, the move's already happened. NVIDIA is anywhere into 120 in the morning, the move has already happened. It may have a couple more bucks, but I will look to short that, depending on where SPY and QQQ are. I was trying to get those are big differences answer. Just what the clarification was on that. I did not trade at all today, Ben. Did not trade today. I'm glad I didn't, because my mental feels so much better. I'm still taking a look at what Disney's doing. If I see it, find a resistance level towards tomorrow. I do like this Google higher low there. So, and then I'll take a look in the video what it does tomorrow up into this resistance zone, 118 to 120. If NVIDIA can give a gap, that'll be a nice Thursday trade. You can just be up at the top in the morning. That'd be great. Daily 200 is closer in the 125. So Bulls definitely got what they wanted. A little bit of an inverse head and shoulders. Might want to be a little bit careful about that. A little bit of inverse head and shoulders here potentially. Might want to retest 125 before coming back down. So, cool. Going once, going twice. She driving, Brian, black girl investor. Oh, she's driving? Okay. She's driving. Yeah, I was just trying to get clarification on what that meant. Like, those are big differences. That's it. I wonder if that's Dreamer. Cool. All right, everybody. Peace, love, and blessings to you. Get back on the big screen here so we can see each other and close out properly. Thank y'all so much for tuning in for this live trading session. Even though we didn't take a trade, or I didn't personally take a trade, hopefully it was valuable to you to just rewatch this, have it on recording here on the channel, and see a live trading session, because I know a lot of people are trying to figure out how a person thinks through how the market reacts. And you saw what happened, that I was looking for those highs to retest. Bulls were holding, and we spurred higher. But it did close a little bit below pre-market highs today. So we'll see what happens the rest of the week. Powell's sentiment was not necessarily good in the bullish sense. He was still very kind of hawkish, bearish, but maybe this trade deal saves the day. If they can't get a trade deal done, we're going lower. If they get a deal done, we can spur a little bit higher. So still a little bit in between. That's why I personally didn't trade, why I'm keeping risk low, risk off until we clear the table. All right. Hopefully this helped. Peace, love, and blessings to you. If you're not inside Leverage University yet, we'd love to have you inside and learn more. If you like my teaching style, let me know down below in the comments. I'll see y'all in the next one.